I'm going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for May 19th, 2015. I think we have a lot of empty seats, but we're going to move forward.
We're going to move forward.
All right, so we'll recognize Deputy Mayor at this time. They'll make some presentations.
Francie, will you step up to the front for me, please? Does the rest of the council want to come up and have a picture taken with Francie?
Well, I sure do.
Oh, I sure, yeah. I'm going to read this about Francie, even though we've known Francie for a long, long time. I was thinking this was her award. So, Francie Martin began working for the city on September 12, 2005. The city of Muskogee began implementing its stormwater management program on April 1, 2005, which is just after Francie began researching stormwater management programs in 2004. Francie is currently responsible for assisting the environmental technician in the operation of stormwater quality management and the stormwater management system. In addition to her overall mission of maintaining and implementing the stormwater best management practices, Francie oversees the operation of the City of Muskogee's Recycle Drop-Off Center recycling program and the June and October household pollutant events. Francie also helped organize the Mayor's 8500 cleanup, and she is the event organizer for Touch a Truck, which benefits the Muskogee Public Library Children's Department. Francie's hobbies include riding her Harley motorcycle, dancing, and enjoying all of her grandchildren's activities. Francie, thank you so much for all that you do. It's been a pleasure for the 9 years that I've been here and seeing all the things that you've done and brought to the city of Muskogee. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Take the rest of these guys. I think they'd like to say hi to you.
She does a lot of things you don't see.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I take credit because I hired her.
Was that what it is? You must have been out of town for that day. Then we were going to recognize Lincoln Anderson. If you don't mind, you want to talk about Tie Tuesdays, and I want you to know I only do this, wear a tie a couple of times a year. I do this just for you. No, this is the next one. I'm getting ready for the next one.
So I need to just go back here then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Tie Tuesday. It's started out as a joke, sort of, between myself and the investigators, and we all thought it would be fun, I guess you could say, to all wear the same color tie on a day. Got to talking about it, thinking about it, and we thought, we can use that and get more city involvement just outside of the department. So we come up with using it as a fundraiser and a way for everybody in the city to show support, to try to raise money. So the general idea is we pick a color, we do it on one Tuesday a month, and we decided on the second Tuesday. We pick a color, everybody that participates donates $5 or more. That money is going to go into a pool, and in August, before school starts, we're going to gather up kids from throughout the community and take them shopping for school clothes, backpacks, shoes, that kind of thing. So it's kind of the idea we had for it. We're shooting kind of high, and we'd like to raise about $3,000. And then we can get 10 kids and spend about $300 a piece and load some kids up and go shopping with them.
So how can people get started?
The next one is June 9th. It's obviously a Tuesday. I think we decided to go with purple. All they have to do, wear your tie, they can come to the station, they can mail an envelope, they can drop an envelope with a donation in. That's pretty much it. We're going to do a picture out in front of the police station on the Tuesdays that we do it. So anybody that participates that wants to come be in the photo, we'd love to have you. More than better.
Yes, sir.
And the females can wear whatever color shirt that is picked for the day. Thank you, Kelly.
That's awfully nice. Appreciate it, man.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to change gears. I'm going to let you read this one, if you don't mind.
Oh, my goodness.
Since you love to tell me earlier, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm a proud papa.
If you'll read that, I think that will be more appropriate.
So, there you go.
Get him some glasses. Okay. No, I can get it.
Whereas the Relay for Life program is the signature activity of the American Cancer Society and celebrates cancer survivors and caregivers, remembers loved ones lost to disease, and empowers individuals and communities to fight back against cancer. And whereas money raised during Relay for Life of Muskogee supports the American Cancer Society's mission of saving lives by helping people stay well and get well, by finding cures and fighting back. And whereas Relay for Life event helped fund more than $177.5 million in cancer research last year. Running out of gas here.
Family job's a little harder than we thought, huh?
Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, John Robert Coburn, Mayor of Muskogee, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim Mayor 29th and 30th as Relay for Life Days in Muskogee, and encouraging citizens to help fight against or finish the fight against cancer by participating in the Relay for Life event at Indian Bowl on Friday, May 29th, 2015. Signed and sealed this 5th day of May 2015 by the authority vested in me as mayor, and of course that's the mayor we're speaking for, John Robert Coburn. And
Now, say why this.
I am very proud because my daughter Melissa is actually the one we're presenting this to, and I know that she is very invested in this, and I'm very proud that she's following kind of in some footsteps that I've laid to help the community. So, very proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Them listed at the
Mhm.
Take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody behind us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can stand behind me tomorrow.
Get in there. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike.
All right, item number 1, please.
Consider approval of the Finance Committee minutes of May 5th, 2015.
Any corrections or additions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments, April 30th, 2015 through May 13th, 2015.
Do we have a report from the purchasing committee?
Yes, sir. The purchasing committee tried to meet, but we didn't have a quorum with the mayor and one of our other members being out of town. But Mr. Johnson and I did review the report of claims with the city treasurer, and I move for approval.
Second.
Moving in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of a resolution declaring a parcel of property located on the corner of South E and Lexington Streets as surplus property and authorize the sale to Amy Kaiser in the amount of $363 or take other necessary action.
All right, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, City Attorney's Office received an application from Amy Kaiser to purchase this parcel of property at South E in Lexington. The parcel is 14,000 square feet and is zoned R5, which is a mobile home. The parcel was donated from the county. Because the lot is of buildable size, it was posted for the requisite 10 days. No additional bids were presented, so I'm recommending the lot be sold to Ms. Kaiser in the amount of $363.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of receiving donated funds for the month of April 2015 in the amount of $320 for the city's animal shelter sponsorship program as per the attached list or take other necessary action.
Recognizing Chief.
Mr. Chairman, we received for the month of April $320 in the amount of contributions or donations, rather, for the animal shelter. I would recommend that we accept those funds.
All right.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivy Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item passed. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of a renewal of a professional services agreement with C. Bart Fike to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in 9/7 inverse condemnation lawsuits filed in Muskogee County District Court. Michael and Lori Carmen versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011-168. Stanley and Linda Clark versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011-164. W.C. Cochran versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011-466. Harold and Leanna Cox versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011-465. Jerry and Marie Maxey versus City of Muskogee, CJ-11-469. Bobby and Linda Scroggins versus City of Muskogee, CJ 11-467. Crystal Thompson versus City of Muskogee, CJ-11-478, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a renewal of our previous agreement with Mr. Fite to continue representation in 7 inverse condemnation lawsuits. As you can tell on the agenda item, there is a typo, and we will correct that for City Council. Mr. Fite has been involved in the representation of these cases since they were filed against the city back in 2011. Inverse condemnation cases are not something that is covered by our OMAG policy. However, they do provide a rebate up to $15,000 in legal expenses. This is merely a renewal of the previous agreement. The rate per hour has not increased. It has remained the same. I recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right.
Move for approval with the correction of the typo.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. Item passed. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of the renewal of a professional services agreement with Betty Audier Williams to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in 4 inverse condemnation lawsuits filed in Muskogee County District Court styled England versus City of Muskogee, case number CV-2007-20, Lacey versus City of Muskogee, case number CV-2007-1377, Taft versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ-2007-1410, Vaughn versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ-2007-1371, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement.
All right, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, again, this is another renewal of a professional services agreement with Ms. Williams. She has provided representation of the city since back in 2007 when these cases were filed against the city. She has provided, we've been very satisfied with her services and would recommend to continue that for another year. Happy to answer any questions, but I recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. All right, item number 7. Number 7.
Oh, sorry.
One more.
I turned too soon. Consider approval of the renewal of a professional services agreement for the fiscal year July 1st, 2015 through June 30, 2016 with Michael Gilliard, attorney at law, to provide representation for the city in a workers' compensation court.
All right, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is another renewal of a professional services agreement with Mr. Gilliard. Mr. Gilliard represents the city in all of our workers' compensation litigation that is required to go to court. As most of you know, the workers' compensation court is located in Tulsa, so we do save a substantial amount of money by retaining Mr. Gilliard since he is located out of Tulsa. We don't have to pay mileage. In reviewing the contract for this year, he has recommended a rate increase for his per hour rate, and that's at $10 an hour. So the rate went from $100 an hour to $110, which is still extremely reasonable for the type of work that we do. We've been very satisfied with his representation and would like to continue that for another year. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes. All right, that was the final item on Finance Committee.
And we'll call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Item 1.
Consider approval of the Public Works Committee minutes of May 5th, 2015.
Any additions or changes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of the administration of the Tiger Grant with EODD for North 24th Street Community Connections Improvements Project or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, as you may know. Is that better? As you may know, we are currently finalizing the economic development grant that we got for 43rd and 45th Street, and under that, EODD is actually going to administer that grant for us. What you have before you today is a Tiger grant that we're applying for, and the reason I mentioned the EDA grant is this is the almost the exact same contract with the Economic Development District to administer the Tiger grant, just like they're going to do for the EDA grant. So the verbiage in this contract is almost the same that was in the EDA grant. It's a $45,000 contract. It is totally reimbursable under the grant, so if we do get the grant, we'll be able to recover the funds through the grant. This contract is also only put into motion if we do get the grant itself, so it's contingent upon that. Kevin Wilson from EODD is here representing the Economic Development District. Kevin, by the way, has been working with us on our application for the Tiger Grant all along. He meets with us about every Tuesday. Has got a lot of time and energy invested in this already, but waiting to get this approved if we do get the Tiger Grant itself. So staff, attorney's office has reviewed the contract. Staff recommends approval, and I'll answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
You're just used to that, aren't you?
I am.
And the motion carries. Item number 3, do you want to strike that?
Yeah, no, well, I'd like to say a couple of things about,
Let me read it in. Item 3.
well, before we go to the next item,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. The Tiger discretionary grant, this is a grant I'm very familiar with, having received one in another jurisdiction. And the collaboration I saw with the staff, our external agency, EODD, and the Nonprofit Research Center was tremendous.
Okay.
I hope that we get this grant. I think you guys did an excellent job.
And we're almost ready to submit. It's a $4 million project, and this grant's for actually $2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Item number 3.
Receive report from Downtown Muskogee, Inc. and take any necessary action.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, as you know, every year we have our external agencies come make a presentation before the council. I'm asking that this presentation be deferred until June 2nd, our first meeting in January, giving DMI's representative, who is for the purpose of giving the actual presentation, is Leanne Langston. So I'll ask that this be, we'll strike it or put it back on the agenda for June 2nd presentation.
Strike it, don't we?
You can do either. You can move to table or you can strike it.
Let's just strike it.
Okay.
That's all right. Item number 4 then.
Receive report and update on ODEQ sanitary sewer consent order and take any necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, if you'll remember, when we were finalizing our lift station project contracts, we discussed at that time that we would like to do an update on our ODEQ consent order. Jay Updike is here. He has presented or put together a PowerPoint presentation to update you on the status of the ODEQ consent order and what our future kind of holds for us.
Good afternoon. Just want to update you on the consent order that actually came in 2008 and been working on it diligently for several years. Nearing the end of the first phase of that consent order requirement. I want to update you on that and some of the future things that you'll see coming. This was just a list of the overflows of sanitary sewer that occurred in 2008 and 9, and that went into the consent order. And when that arrived, we were contracted to address the consent order. This was just some of the press that was in the paper at that time about the issue, and the city actually ended up paying a fine. I don't remember exactly what the fine was. It says it was initially $200,000. I think that was negotiated down. When we looked at the overflows, we mapped where they were and looked at the reason for those. A lot of them were blockages in line. A lot of them were just line failures where the lines collapsed or a force main failed or a pump station failed due to no backup power or a pump down or something like that. Rain overwhelming the system caused the big ones, and then sometimes grease just causes an overflow. What we did was prepared a master plan to present to DEQ, and that was finished in February of 2011. To do that, there were flow monitors put in the system to measure the flow at 40 different locations to determine where the problems were and model the system. And after that was completed, I have some copies of this to pass out. This map was prepared and presented to DEQ. I'm going to pass some of these out. Working? I don't think it's working. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of dim. Uh-oh. If you look at the map, there's the proposed work from the modeling of the system to attack the overflows was divided into 3 phases. The red projects you see on the map were phase 1, and they included all those little dots are the lift station rehab projects. Those are completed, as you're aware. There was 3 projects, really 4 projects in phase 1. The completion of the Cootie Creek outfall is the lower left red line there. That was actually already designed before the consent order was issued, so that project was already designed and funded, but we put it in there. The Eastside Interceptor, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is a replacement of a 1957 concrete line through the east side of Muskogee, starting south of Peak Boulevard through Phoenix Village, by the School for the Blind, Civitan Park, coming around and ending kind of near the old stockyards at the Beacon Street pump station. That project's under construction. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The areas that are shaded in red are areas where the collection system showed the most infiltration inflow, stormwater getting into the wastewater system and overwhelming it. Those were about the 30% of the system that was the worst based on the flow monitoring. So we put those in phase 1. The rehabilitation of those systems is underway. I've got some pictures here of that in a minute. The green shaded areas are the areas of the collection system that were the next highest level of infiltration and inflow into the collection system. So those are the green areas, and then the blue areas were the lowest amount of infiltration inflow. Still not good, but lower. And then the areas of the city that are not shaded were areas where we recommended no work be done to the system because there weren't any overflows in those areas. So phase 1 was this document with DEQ. They concurred in that. The council concurred with it at the time. The phase 1 projects were started, and they're nearing completion. So here. Any questions on this map? Kind of where we're headed with that, or the history of that?
So, Jay, let's just take the Honor Heights piece.
Yep.
There's one red line that's almost cutting that one in half. Now, is that the only thing that you have to do in that Honor Heights type area?
No, there are a lot of rehabilitation of lines going on in there that are so small we can't show them on here.
Okay.
I've got a map. There's a lot. In the rehabilitation project, there's about, I want to say, 15 miles of line we're replacing throughout the city. 900 manholes are being worked on. All that work is done in the red areas, but
Okay.
I can't really show the specific location here.
Okay, just checking.
Right. And then the blue lines, let me say this, the blue lines on here are relief lines for lines that aren't big enough that may or may not be required in the Phase 3. You know, hopefully they won't. Okay, here's a summary of the Phase 1 projects. The Eastside Sewer, the one here on the right side of the map that cuts across the east side of the city, is an $8.8 million project. It's 50% complete. I'm sure you're familiar with it because we got the whole world torn up out there. You've been through Phoenix Village. It's a very tough project. It's very deep, but it's behind because of the weather and other factors. But it is moving along. It's within budget at this point. And
Jay, I'd like to
Sure.
to mention that project, as Jay said, is underway, but we are having a lot of issues with the weather with that project right now. So if you do, as council, get phone calls, we're happy to go out and respond and talk to the property owners. We're getting a lot of complaints due to just the tremendous amount of rainfall that we've had, and it's causing a lot of problems with this type of work. And I just want to make sure if you're getting any calls, we're glad to respond.
Yeah, the project's complete from Peak Boulevard almost up to Chandler Road, and then from Chandler Road it's complete for a little ways, and then other sections of it are complete. So the lift station rehabilitation of the red dots on here was rehabilitation of most of the pump stations to add flow monitoring, pump replacement, just a painting, and just a lot of different things to bring those stations up to speed. Not all the stations were worked on. I'll talk about that in a minute. Those that we might be able to eliminate were not worked on. And then the collection system work is rehabilitation is a $5.8 million project. TG Excavating is the contract on that. That's about 20% complete, and it's going very well. That's all the work in the red areas here. That consists. Well, I got some pictures of that. I'll show it to you. That didn't come out very well. That's the Eastside Sewer. This is probably a better map for you to look at. This is sideways. North is to the right. The red line is the route of that. It's pretty much through developed areas, and there's parts of it. At Gibson Street, it's 34 feet deep. I've never seen a gravity sewer that deep, but it's extremely deep. It's in very poor condition here. I'll show you in a minute. That's what the line looks like. Existing lines, concrete line. The hydrogen sulfide gas is completely. It has a wire mesh in it that's gone. It's collapsed at a lot of places, and the contractors, battle that because a lot of this is done by boring, and it'll collapse on him, and he has to dig it up. So it's really been a battle. It's got a lot of sediment in it. It's just really seen its useful life.
Jay, while you have that picture up, I would like to point out just exactly what Jay just said, that the contractor's having issues with this, and that's one of the reasons. As he's pumping around, it's causing delays in some of the project itself due to the pipe conditions. And that's why, as we go forward with this project, we may be looking at some day changes and allowances for unknowns that did happen.
Exactly.
And that's a good picture to represent that.
Yep. This is a photograph of their boring machine. A lot of this through Phoenix Village and some of the tighter areas. It was done by where houses are 25 feet apart and the line's 25 feet deep. They did it by boring out the old line and pulling the other line in behind it. Here's a picture of the pipe. It's a fiberglass reinforced concrete pipe. It's very strong. It's in sections, and they pull that in behind that boring head as they go through there. This is a shot of the open cut section. This is just north of Peak Boulevard. Where it was out in the open, we were able to just dig up the old line and replace it right where it was. And did that everywhere, actually, but we were able to do a lot of it in open cut because it was less expensive. The Phase 1 collection rehabilitation work We picked the worst 8 basins out of the 40 to work on those. It included manhole repairs and replacements, line replacements, spot repairs where we just had one spot to dig out, replace that section, and slip lining and pipe bursting. I'll show you some pictures of those. This is just the location map of those areas again. The squares are the sheet numbers that we prepared that show the detail work in each area. So you can see it matches the red sections here on this map. To determine where these are, those entire areas were smoke tested. All the manholes were inspected. There's about 2,000 of them. And TV cameras were run through, I think it was about 20 miles of line to develop the repair. So from the TVing and the smoke testing, we determined what to do to each line to try to repair it, depending on whether it was in the pavement or in an alley or those kinds of things. This isn't a very good shot either. This is a shot of the plans, and the lines are highlighted by yellow or other colors here to show what the type of replacement would be. It's all bid by the linear foot and per manhole and those kinds of things. Here's a shot of the slip lining. What they do, and you've probably seen this if you've been driving around, because they have 38 people working on this all over town. It's 4 crews right now. What they do is they dig an entry pit and then to the line, and then they pull this line through the sewer line all the way up, and then from manhole to manhole, and then if there are services on that, they have to dig back in and reconnect the services at each point. A lot of this is in the street, but they've done a really good job of patching the streets and putting it back. Here's just a shot of a manhole replacement that was done. Not a whole lot of total replacements. Most of the manhole work is on the interior. Here's a shot of a man working on the most of the manholes are brick and they leak. Sometimes the ring and cover has holes in it, or it's in a low spot and water runs in there. Replacing those, it comes from just everywhere. So this is a high strength grout that's being put on the inside of the manhole, on the bottom, and on the sides. That's been very effective. This is a pipe bursting. This is a little bit different. This is similar to slip lining, but where the line needs to remain the same size, they actually pull kind of a bullet-shaped head through there and crack the pipe and pull the other pipe behind it that can be the same size or larger. So this here is I think it's a 10-inch line probably being pulled into an 8-inch line or a 10-inch line there.
Jay, would you back up one slide, please?
Yep.
I want to point out that the product that they're using is actually being made here in Muskogee by
Right.
Central Mortar and Grout.
Yeah, it is. It says it right on the bag.
Cool.
Yeah. So what's next? We need to complete the Eastside Sewer and the Phase 1 rehabilitation. The Phase 1 rehabilitation should be finished by December. That Eastside Sewer will probably drag into next year a little bit, the way we're going. Quarterly, your staff advises DEQ of the progress on the consent order. All these have completion dates that you're required to meet. And then we need to update the master plan, and that is due in December of next year. So what needs to be done there is we need to go back out, reflow monitor the system with these changes that have been made, look at the overflows that have happened in the last several years, see how they relate to the flow monitoring, and refine the Phase 2 and Phase 3 improvements. Update the system model, which is a very complex computer model that models all these flows. Develop a Phase 2 plan. We have some idea what those are, but hopefully we can cut them down and identify the detailed cost of those. Submit that plan to DEQ, and then be ready to move into the Phase 2 construction. What might Phase 2 include? One project that's been looked at for years that needs to be in Phase 2, I think, is what I call the North Side Lift Station Elimination project.
Jay, could you take the microphone with you? Okay. If you don't mind.
The Beacon Street pump station pumps about a third of the wastewater from the north side of the city, and it pumps it through this. It's going to pump it through this new Eastside Interceptor. What this project would do would eliminate that station. It would eliminate what we call the Keaton station, which is if you turn off York Street on Shawnee and Old Shawnee, there's kind of a low spot there. There's a pump station right there. There's a pump station behind Kurt Singer's that's obsolete, and there's one at Katua Village out here on North York. All those could be eliminated by gravity lines to the north, where you built a centralized lift station, pump the wastewater all the way back to the Eastside sewer there, and get rid of those 4 antiquated lift stations and put them into one. And to get rid of them and also for capacity reasons. That's it. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions? Nice report, Jack.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Excited over that.
Do you want these back?
Okay.
No action.
No action needed on that? No questions for Jay before we move on to item 5? Item 5.
Preview and discuss the new City of Muskogee website and take any necessary action.
Mr. Cummings.
Committee, manager, deputy mayor.
Hey.
Proud to present a preview of our new website. If you notice that it's got a much cleaner design than our old one, and much more modern, uncluttered. We looked at other cities, what the direction they were going, and while we did not want to be like other cities, we wanted to create a friendlier website where people could find things. The banner page there, we can replace those photos as we want to. A lot of these photos were actually taken by Mike Hedge. He seems to be a very accomplished photographer, and I appreciate his help with that. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that right there on the front page is the latest news for the city. There's more news. We don't delete the old stuff, but the top 3 stories are right there on the front page, along with the calendar and the message from the mayor. The calendar, that's just an overview of the calendar. People can see what's coming up real quick. The Civic Center calendar, the Roxy calendar, and the Parks calendar all update this master calendar. When they put items on, then it's also going to appear on this master calendar so people can see what's coming up without actually having to go several different places to take a look. They can see it there. Then they can go into the calendar and actually get more detail on that event.
Chris, is there any way that you tie this in with the chamber or the tourism piece, or we've got that far, or just have a link to their site?
Well, we do have a link to their site. Before this website, we actually would link out to their calendar for events. Mm-hmm. So with this, what we're trying to do is bring back to our website the things that are going on, at least within the realms of the city of Muskogee. We don't want to, or I don't think we want to, take away from the chamber, but we want to give citizens several different places to go see what's going on. And I could see us teaming back up with the chamber if that's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And that way we can make sure that everybody's calendar gets updated. Okay. So, but yeah, this is actually on our site, and it's local. What the chamber puts on their calendar doesn't necessarily come over here unless somebody also posts it on our calendar.
I don't know about the rest of the committee, but it seemed like that would be pretty handy, that you wouldn't have to go bounce 2 or 3 sites. You'd see it all at one place.
True.
Vice versa, whether you were on their side or whether you're on ours.
Right, and that's where we would need to coordinate that with the chamber and kind of get an agreement on how we're going to do that.
Because I think that's one of the things that we discussed when we were wanting to our website updated, is that we wanted one place for people to be able to go to and see everything that was happening in Muskogee, and I think that's one of the main things we set aside for.
And we can. We just it just needs to be updated on our calendar.
Yeah, it's technology, counselor. I mean, it's, you know, I've seen plenty of these city websites. You know, some of them are very integrated with other, you know, like agencies like the Chamber, the Port, and those kinds of things. And it's just a matter of us working to try to fit that in. But guys, websites, they evolve. I was looking at some other websites from other jurisdictions, and it seemed like everything has changed over the course of 6 months to a year. Our challenge, I think, will be to ensure we have like a webmaster on city staff to help update this and give it a fresh look and that type of thing. Okay. We definitely got to find a way to link up with the other agencies.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
And the thing is, it's just like Mr. Brown said, you know, people ask me, when's the website going to be finished? When's the website going to be finished? Never. And my answer is never. Okay. It's always going to be a work in progress. It's always going to be changing. We don't want it to be finished and static. That's definitely what we never want. So it's evolving, and so, you know, what we want to do is go ahead and get it out, and then it, you know, just because this is the way it is today does not mean that's the way it has to stay. The menus, we've got our, you know, the standard departments menu, talks about the departments. Government will show, you know, agendas and minutes about the city council, things like that. There's also a link from here to finance, so they can get budget documents, things like that. There's a link out to MCTV 14 where they can take a look at some of the videos. The last PublicWorks last council employee spotlight video, State of the City, and then we've got a link under other videos that links out to our YouTube site. Under residents, businesses, and visitors, we tried to put things that would appeal to those specific members of our community. Under visitors is where we do have the link out to the Chamber site. One of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to make it easy for people to find things on our site. We wanted to make it easy for people that got a question, hey, how do I do this? Okay, so this is what we're starting out with, and of course that's going to change as we find out, you know, what are people looking for. Then we're going to put it right there, how do I? Some of the things that we went ahead and put there is, you know, how do I apply for employment or a business license or a building permit? How do I pay a ticket or a fine? How do I pay my water bill? Things like that. Start, stop water service. I've got a link out to our AquaHawk page. How do I monitor my water usage? So they can go there, and here's how you sign up. Here's how you get out there to it. So also under this, you know, request records, file a claim. Now, one of the things that we talked about before, what we wanted to be able to do is we wanted to provide an easy way for people to report a problem to the city and make sure that it was taken care of. So under our how do I report a problem is the link out to our citizen request tracker. What this allows us to do, and go ahead and click on login there, Mike, and I don't remember if I kept myself logged in, and I didn't. Stand by.
All the appointments. All the appointees,
The board opens. I'm just
So once a person is signed up, and they can sign up on that login page there if they're not already signed up. Once they've registered for this request tracker, then they can view any of these existing forms. If you notice at the top there it says view existing requests, that's because I have an existing request in. So I can take a look at that. Go ahead and click on that, Mike. Okay, these are the requests that I put in. Right now, the one I've got open is traffic light out or flashing. And if we click on that, I can go and I can see, okay, that's the problem I reported. And right now, Joe Blow is the manager for that department, so we'll change that, of course. But notice that he put in there that the crew's been dispatched. So I got an email saying crew's been dispatched. So I don't even have to log in here to see that something's happening to my request. Now, what I can do is 2 days later, if that light's still flashing, then I can go in here and I can reply to that comment and say, okay, it's still flashing, okay? And then that goes back to the department manager or the manager of the request for that department. And it says, okay, hey, Chris Cummings says that light's still flashing, okay? So there can be a two-way conversation between the citizen and the city of Muskogee on that. Once that's been taken care of, then Joe can type in there, okay, lights are good. Or he can reply back to me, yes, we're aware of it, the part's been ordered. You know, and then, oh, okay, then I know you're still working on this, and the part's been ordered. Then when it's fixed, then Joe can type in there that the problem's been resolved, send that back to me, and close out the request. Okay.
And there are prompts that occur also where the folks can either, they can either decide if they want a text message or an email.
It only does email.
Oh, email. Okay.
It does email.
Okay.
There's a place in the forms that I put in there for a phone number, so that now Joe says, wait a minute, I went out there and I looked, that light's working just fine. Well, now I've got a phone number. I can call Chris and say, hey, Chris, I'm standing right here looking at the light. Oh, man. Oh, not Main and Okmulgee, Main and Broadway. Okay. So then there can be some more communication. Now, what I've got on these forms, I looked at a site in Georgia and looked at some of their forms, and basically they had a couple things on there. Where's the problem and what's the problem? Okay. We can put more information in here. If you'll click on problem with a city facility there, Mike. If I want to report a problem with the city facility, then if you notice on this form, I've got 3 of our city facilities in there: Civic Center, Public Library, Roxy. I've also got other, okay? So I can select, I've got a problem with the Civic Center, brief description, hey, I rented the room and it was way too cold all weekend, or whatever, my phone number. Then that would go to our facilities manager, and then he's got a way to take a look at that, contact the person who submitted the request, and say this is what we're doing about it. So,
how fast is the turnaround on that? If you have someone that rented out a facility that's too cold and we don't have anybody, apparently there'll be someone there to fix that.
Right. It would go. They'd type that in there. It would go to the department email. If it's Saturday, they're not likely to see it till Monday.
Yeah, but I think there's 2 questions here, I guess.
But someone will be there to make sure, a maintenance guy, custodian, or something will be there to make sure that the
I would
temperature
imagine
drops
so.
down.
Yes, sir.
And that was
Okay.
just an
Yes, sir.
example.
I know, I'm just double checking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know their procedures, but I would imagine so. There typically has been.
We have a 24-hour person on call to deal with that or address that. But what this does, it allows for us to better see the volume of complaints or requests that we receive, be able to focus on where we need to concentrate our efforts on, and try to just put together a remediation plan to kind of address some of these issues. And then it provides really for I would say the department's a management tool. We're able to look and see what our issues are and be able to say, okay, look, we get a lot of pothole complaints. We need to focus on these areas. We get a lot of facility complaints. We need to focus in that area. I mean, so it will serve as a management tool for us, and I think that's the purpose of it. But it also, long term, it's really for our citizens, so they can call City Hall, and so they can rest assured that when they make a request or they make a complaint, that it's being followed up on. Once they put it in the system, it can't be removed. Okay, so it'll allow for us to go in the system, do reports, make sure that things are getting taken care of.
This way, the citizen can be assured that it's not just going to be dropped.
Okay.
There's
Is there a report that the city manager will get on a weekly or a monthly basis to say what's still open?
we can generate a
Well,
report for the city manager.
My goal is to make this like a monthly report so you can see the activity. Once we start getting the data in these systems, I've used this in several places, and I can tell you, you start seeing where your problems are. And then the data that comes out of this will be so important for us because we can do other things. And so with that data, so I think it's a very important tool that we definitely need it, and we have it now, and so we'll be using this.
Yeah. And the good thing also about this is it's also going to continue to evolve.
Sure.
Revise has committed to me that, hey, if you want something, they're actually working on another release, and I sent them an email with a wish list. Good. And said, hey, can we do this? So it's also going to evolve, and it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this. There's each department manager can see the list of calls in their department, both open and closed. And then administrators like myself, I can go in and I can see everything. Okay. And we can set up another administrator to take a look as well. So it's not just me having to remember, oh, hey, go take a look at this.
Chris,
so
I see a tab says change passwords. And I'm an old guy that forgets passwords. Who needs that? I mean, what's that tab for?
That would be for, okay, I'm logged in as a user, as a citizen now. I'm not logged in as a manager or anything. Mm-hmm. So I go, you know what? I want to change my password. And that's where I would go to change my password.
So I have to put a password in to get into this system?
Yes, sir, you do. And that does two things. Okay. Number one, it keeps down on the amount of spam requests that we would get. If we just, one of the things that I kind of went back and forth on is the requirement to register. Well, seeing the amount of spam requests, even with something like reCAPTCHA, they're starting to see a lot of ways that has been gotten through. So what this will do is it makes sure that it is actually a real person and it is you reporting that.
Okay.
So
we vote on this tonight. When does it start?
My plan was to start phasing it in Friday of this week. And the reason I say it that way is once I make the changes on our servers, it can take up to 48 hours for it to propagate through DNS servers throughout the internet.
Move for approval.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wait. I just have a motion. I don't have a second or anything else. Go ahead.
Second.
And now I have a second. Now, do we have any more
questions?
questions or discussion? How's that?
When we originally approved this, we were supposed to see a framework.
Actually, that went very, very quickly, and I apologize for that. Every time I looked at the agenda, it was very full. So basically, it went from design to content very, very quickly.
Well, what's your concern, Council? I'm sorry.
When we approved this,
yes, sir.
Part of that approval was we were going to come back and we was going to see a framework of that website before it moved forward.
Yeah.
And the council would be involved in seeing that framework and that layout.
Yeah.
And here we are. This is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do remember a conversation about, bringing other people to the table, getting, the port and chamber and those folks involved. Maybe I missed it. I mean, but we do have a website we can start with, and maybe we can, when we do our next update or revision, we can come back. I wouldn't like to hold it up, based on the framework. I don't know a lot about websites, but it looks.
I mean, when we. I thought it was very clear that we wanted to see the framework of what the website was going to be, and I've asked 4 times that I wanted to see where we were at on the framework of the website, and then I hear we're in training employees and we're ready to roll this thing out, and we have no input.
Yeah.
As city has voted in city that's I'm very disappointed that we're here at the final hour, and it is what it is.
Well, maybe I misunderstood. The purpose, our purpose today is really to, present it to the city council and get input. It's never too late to get it, and we can go back and do that. I like what I'm seeing. It's better than what we have on the website now.
I don't disagree. I mean, but it's not to go back. It's to, we are supposed to work as a team.
Right.
And part of that is we be included in that process. And we had talked about at a particular point, we would see the base frame of the website and to see how that format was.
Okay.
And it was totally disregarded.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's your pleasure. What do you want to do?
Well,
what would you like to do?
I understand where he's coming from because we did request to be more involved and to see it before it kind of rolled out. And I got to admit, it does look better than what we have. I like the way the pictures and everything. I like the way it looks. It is kind of frustrating to ask for something and not get it as a city council. It's not the first time it's happened. I'm sure it won't be the last time, even though we hope that it's the last time, but I doubt if it will be. And one thing that I've always said since I've been here is we have people in place that are professionals that take care of some of this stuff for us. Even though we want to look at it and we want to put our stamp of approval on it, at the end of the day, we do have Chris there, and he is the one kind of guiding us through this. We did have a lot of input into it at the beginning, kind of what we wanted. Matter of fact, we visited with the guy that was here and told him what we wanted. So I don't feel like we were totally left out of it. So I still stand behind my motion to approve.
Well, I don't say I won't go. It's no reflection on Chris or his department. This was on the one that made the presentation. He was going to come back. He was going to present. I've asked the manager 4 times that we needed to make sure and be involved in the framework of this proposal, in this framework. But I do not want to delay because I think our community needs a voice. We need a reporting system. I think we're moving with a work order system. I want to see how this ties into the work order system. I think there needs to be connections. I think a lot of things need to take place. All those changes can be worked through and defined. But I really believe we need to work together as a team, and there shouldn't be little houses built and we're not communicating. This is just another area where I just see that we're getting on a path, and we just continue to head on that path, and we're not seeking input from others.
So I have a motion and a second to send this on to City Council for Monday night. Is that correct? Roy?
I think that was your motion.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was my second.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And motion carries.
Hey, Council, since this is going to City Council, then I will delay. We won't launch Friday. We'll wait till City Council on Tuesday, and then start the launch process next week.
We'll work it out, Chris.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you, Chris. Item number 16.
Consider the appointment of Keith Bennett to the city's facility board to serve a 5-year term beginning June 1st, 2015, ending on May 31st, 2020, or take other necessary action.
Woodston.
Yes. You might know Keith Bennett.
I
Didn't
think
you
I
go
do.
to school with him?
Yes, I did. I'm voting.
He is a fine young man who is knowledgeable about a lot of things that have to do with facilities. And he comes from an old Muskogee volunteer family. Mm-hmm. You know, his parents were the ones they named the park under Honor Heights Hill for. And I move that he be approved.
Well, I know Keith too, and he would be a fantastic benefit to that board, and boy, I'm glad to see him appointed to that.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Have a
And I
motion.
meant to do that as a second.
I have a motion and a second, and I'm glad she said that I went to school with him and he's a fine young man. Well, that means I'm a young man, too.
He must be younger than you.
Must be. I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And the motion carries. I have one citizens wishing to speak. Mr. Van. Go ahead and start the timer now.
Okay.
fella. Let's get rolling here.
I've been 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I come up here today to thank everyone for coming out to the ward meeting yesterday. I definitely know it was a success. So on behalf of myself and Derek Reed, we'd like just to thank everybody. We'd like to thank Mr. Brown. We'd like to thank Kimber Scott of Public Relations for getting the word out. We also like to thank St. Mark Baptist Church and Reverend Cutler and Gary Warrior. They helped us down there. And for the police department, we'd like to thank Officer Cotton, Officer Garcia, and Officer Mays. They were down there helping also set up. And also for the City Attorney's Office, we helped with our PowerPoint. Him and Mr. Gary Garvin, they helped me with the PowerPoint, and I appreciate that. And thank Mike Stewart for coming yesterday, and the park director, Mark Wilkerson. You know, as Mr. Johnson, that's what I like to hear. We're a team. And trust me, yesterday we worked as a team to get this thing done. And we also like to thank the citizens of Ward 3 for coming out. Also the citizens from Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 4, they came out. And also thank Mr. Johnson for coming out to our meeting yesterday, him and his wife. And also we'd like to thank Marcia Wiseman. She furnished the treats after the meeting. She's not here, but she furnished the treats. But I believe we had a successful meeting, and I'm trying to think of anybody else that I need to thank while I'm up here. But if I forget them, I'll come back on Monday night and make sure I thank them. But one thing impressed me yesterday was the department heads. They could have sent their assistants, but they came themselves, and we definitely appreciate that because people get to meet and see who we are, and I know the citizens appreciate that. So on behalf of Mr. Reed, Councilman Reed, and Councilman Van, and myself, we definitely appreciate the city of Muskogee for doing everything they've done for us yesterday in order to make this a successful ward meeting, and I believe we made some progress. And also thank Mr. Dwayne Smoot for the story. We don't thank the newspaper sometimes, but I think Dwayne, he does a great job. So we'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Seeing no other citizens wish to speak, we are now adjourned, and now we'll call the special call of the Muskogee City Council.
Mayor Bob Coburn, Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston. Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval to accept a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation in the amount of $75,000 for the Muskogee Police Firing Range or take any necessary action.
Chief Eskridge.
Mr. Vice Mayor, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from the foundation for $75,000 for our range improvements. As you know, the city of Muskogee has been selected, the Muskogee Police Department has been selected for a regional site, as a regional site for basic training. If we do very well on this, we could become a permanent regional site, and the most important ingredients to that program is our range, and this $75,000 will allow us to make some improvements, buy some equipment, and ensure that that range is in effective and in good shape when the recruits from all over the state come to Muskogee. So that's what this money's about.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
I move to accept the money.
Second.
Not surprising that Janie did that. I have a motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 2.
Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25, Oklahoma Statutes, consider convening an executive session for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property and the certain creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do I have a motion?
I move to go into executive session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. We're now in an executive session. Welcome back to the special call of the Muskogee City Council. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Present.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development. After being fully briefed on such matters, including discussion of a proposal to entice a business to relocate to Muskogee, I believe it's appropriate at this time for a motion to be made to direct staff to prepare an option contract for the sale of a certain tract of airport land, subject to approval of the Port Authority and the City of Muskogee, to also obtain a fair market value study, and finally to seek FAA approval for the sale.
Move for approval as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Seeing no further business, we're adjourned. Thank you.